Hi everybody, and welcome back to part 3 of the June Kimberbell Mini Quilt, and welcome back to Sew Along with Jan. So we are going to make the lemonade block. So we did the little banner in the end of the second video, this little squeeze the day. So it needed to dry a little bit because we are actually going to sew it into the block. So mine's dry now, so we should be okay. And this block has quite a bit going on in it. It has glitter, it has vinyl, it has some seed, the little beads that go down inside the drink glass. It has a straw, a banner. So it's actually got quite a bit going on. So I thought this would be a good one to do just as a separate video by itself. So I think it might take us a little while to do this. So the next thing I wanted to tell you is that this is a pretty large block. So if you have a small hoop, they do have a version of it that is ready for the 5x7 hoop that you can do split into 2 pieces. So I am going to be doing this in the standard hoop, the bigger hoop in 1 piece, but it will need to be done in a 9.5 by 14. The block measures finished, I believe, you check it here, I think it is 4.5 by, see where the trimming instructions are, 6.5 by 12.5. So the 8 by 12 hoop is going to be too short. If you only have an 8 by 12 hoop, though, you can get around it if you have a little software. You can take the step number 4 and step number 5 fabric placement line and fabric tack down line out of the design and then skip to the quilting, and you could do it in an 8 by 12. But as the design stand, you would need to be in a 9.5 by 14. So I have a large machine, so I am going to use a 9.5 by 14. There are separate instructions for those people that have smaller hoops that want to do it in 2 pieces. But if you have an 8 by 12 hoop, if you watch my video that I did for the 6 by 10 hoop for Sweet Land of Liberty, the pillow, about a year or 2 ago, I talk about how to remove those lines so that you can trick it into working for you, because there's a 1/2 inch that's too big for the width and the length in the 8 by 12. So if you watch that video, it'll show you how to do that. If you have some basic software that allows you to do some simple editing, that would really help you. Okay, so we're going to use a 9.5 by 14 hoop, though, since I have a luminaire. And the first thing we're going to do is get our quilting. So the quilting says, let's see here, says that we're going to use Fruit 6, and it's the 6 by 12 design. So we're going to get that. Let's see here. Quilting, Fruit 6, and then we're going to do the 6 by 12, which is this one. So we're going to do this one. Okay. And then we're going to hit add down here, and we're going to go get our lemonade block. So it comes up 6.5 by 12.5. So if you remove those last 2 parts of the quilting, you can get by with an 8 by 12 hoop. So let's see here, there it is. And then we're going to go into the embroidery files, and we're going to get our June and get the lemonade block. Okay, so there's our lemonade block. And it says that we want it to come in centered. Yeah, centered. So of course this will be centered. So we'll do that. That's fine where it is then. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's see. So I've got my cutaway, my no-show mesh in the hoop. And let's see. Then we're going to start our quilting. So that's the next steps. Okay, so let's get our quilt. We got our quilting design. I got all these little pieces. So we have there's quite a lot of pieces to here. So these are the pieces for the lemons. These have 2 pieces of shape blocks on the back because of the lightness of the color. This is for the lemonade inside the inside the glass. And then we have some little beads that we're going to put in to make them look like seeds in our lemons. And then here's some of the glitter vinyl, this yellow glitter vinyl that we're going to use for some of the lemons. And I am going to take this clear plastic sheet. We're just going to take that off. So here's our yellow glitter vinyl. And then we've got a piece of clear vinyl that we're going to use for the glass. We've got a couple of pieces of green to go for the leaves. This is going to be the back of the glass. And then this is our background fabric. So we have lots of pieces for this one. So hopefully we won't get anything mixed up. We'll see how we do here. I'm going to put this up here so that I won't get it in the way. Okay, so the first step, of course, is going to be, I'm going to hit embroidery, and of course we're going to do our quilting first. So the first thing it's going to do is do a placement line. You're going to have to give me a second here because I'll have to pull my arm out just a little bit with this big hoop in here. It likes to hit the hoop, so we're going to do our placement line. So it's narrow enough, but it had to be in the 9.5 by 14 because of the length of it. So I'm getting my chunk of batting ready here. Get our placement line down and then our batting. So it takes a little longer when the hoop's bigger, doesn't it? I like doing small blocks because they go faster. But the ones that we've been doing today, though, in the other two videos, actually had a lot of quilting or a lot of sewing in them. I was amazed at how many little details there were in those small blocks. Okay, so I need to get this organized in here. Flop it up here. Make sure I got enough to cover everything. All right, so then we're going to do our tack down line, which is step number 2. And I think my fabric ended up on the floor as usual. So I'll chase it down here in a minute. All right, so it's 6 inches wide, so it's going to end up being 6 inches wide. So it's long and skinny. It's going to go around the batting twice. All right. Yeah, so after I started reading the directions, I thought we probably should do this block by itself. It's a little bit, it has quite a lot of stuff going on and lots of little techniques in it. So I thought, well, we'll just do it by itself. Sometimes I have to change my mind as I get going on these, you know. I'm doing these with you new too, because I've never done any of these before. So it's kind of fun for me because I'm doing it right along with you, brand new. I've never done them. All right, so we're going to go ahead and trim close to our batting here. You might not be able to see me do some of the trimming, but you know what I'm doing. Get my chunk of batting off of here. All right, oops. It's hard when you got this great big long hoop. I don't like to take it out of the machine too often because this is the one that is really tight in my machine. So I try to keep it clean, but sometimes it still is tight. So I leave it in the machine as much as I can. All right, and then trim up here, and then we're going to do our fabric placement line. So this is the line that you would remove if you had an 8 by 12 hoop. You could remove the step number 4 and step number 5 for the quilting, and then you would be able to do it. But you would just lay your fabric down, then center it over your batting, and then like just tape it down along the edges, and then it would just do the quilting. There wouldn't be a tack down line. So if you tape it, it helps keep it in there, and it works just fine. It's a little harder to trim because you don't have the basting lines around the outside edge for the trimming at the end, but if you have a smaller hoop, it's a way to get around it. because you can do the same thing if you have like a 6x10 hoop with some of the ones that are 6 inches wide, because the quilting makes them 6.5. So okay, so then we're going to take our fabric and we're going to lay it on here. Now I do have some selvage at the top, so I'm going to make sure that I've got plenty to cut off when I do that. So I'm trying to get it as centered as I can here. And I'm using white thread in the needle. In fact, you know, I'm going to check something before I go any further to make sure I still have enough bobbin thread in here. Yep, I'm good. I forgot to check before I started this block. Okay. So now we're going to do our placement line. That's step number 4, or I'm sorry, our tack down line, which is step number 4. And I'm going to quilt this with white. I'm not remembering what it said. It did say to quilt this one with white, because my background is so light colored. It would have really shown a lot if I'd done it with the color. So we're going to quilt this one with white, and it's that same one with the little lemons and stuff on it. So that'll be really cool. All right, and then step number 5 is going to be our quilting. So I'm just going to go ahead and get this started, and then I'll be back when it's finished with the quilting so that we can move on to the applique parts. Okay, so we're to our first step in the instructions for the actual lemonade glass. And this is going to be the placement line for the glass. So I'm going to be putting this blue down, and it says to use a neutral thread. And I was looking forward, and it's a darker green that I'm going to be putting over the top of this. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep the white in to make my placement line. So we're going to do the placement line, then we're going to lay our fabric down. And then, oops, second here. And then we're going to do the tack down line for the glass, and then we're going to trim it. Look, I've got a bunch of thread sticking in here. There we go. Make sure I can see where my glass is. Yeah, it's right here. It kind of goes right here. So it's a little hard to see probably on the video, but I can see it okay. Probably would have been better to do a different color, but I can see it. All right, I think we're good. Yep, should be good. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and stitch to step number 2 with that same color, and we're going to do the tack down line. And then we're going to trim close to the stitches. Now I might do the next one in a different color because it's for the banner, and I might do it in the color that is the straw, because it's very hard. It's going to be hard to see in this white, I think. So we'll do that. I have to decide which color it is first. There's a bunch of different kind of peachies and pinks in here, so I got to check my color, thread color chart in the front here. Let's see. The melon, I think, is first. Yeah, the melon part. So that's this one. Okay. So then we're going to trim this close to the stitches. I didn't have a plain blue, so mine has a little figure on it, but you know, it's still going to be pretty. Didn't have a plain blue. I thought I did, but I looked everywhere and nothing. So this was as close as I had. I was cutting this all out this morning, and I thought I'm just going to use what I've got, not have to go get any fabric. So this worked. Oops, here. Got a line of thread. Okay, get this out of our way. Okay. So then the next step is going to be that tack down line for this little, for the little banner, and I think I'm going to go ahead and put that peachy color in because that's the first one we use for the colors, and I think it's going to sew over the banner on the end. So I'm hoping it will, because I can't see very well with the white. So we're going to put this in. Whoops, here we go. It's caught on something. Okay, so we'll get our placement line on for this little banner. So it says to place the embroidered banner from part A right side up with the left edge of the banner centered on the placement line, tape in place. And it kind of has you taping at the top. Let's see if we can pull this back so you can see a little bit better. So I've got my little piece right here. It's very hard to see probably. I can see it pretty well though. All right, so I'm going to lay that right on there. Let's see. And then I'm going to tape that down if I can find my tape. So, and it kind of has you taping up here, so I guess I'll just kind of tape it along the top here. Like that. And I might put a piece on the bottom too, just for safety's sake. So we'll see how that goes. I got it right on my line. Okay. So then it says stitch the banner tack down line. Do not trim the banner, it says. Okay. So put this back in there and we're going to do the tack down line. And then stitch the straw fill. So the straw fill, this is the first color for the straw fill, so hopefully this works. Okay, so there's our banner, tack down. And then step 5 in the instructions on page 15 is going to be the straw fill 1. So this was the color I wanted to, that's why I did the step in that. I might actually, just a second here, this tape might be a little long, so let me just pull this tape up a little bit, move it over, just so that it won't get caught on the straw. There we go. Move it over here. There we go. All right. So now it's going to do the first color of the straw, and then the second color of the straw is going to be this pink color. So I'll come back when the first section of the straw is done, and then we'll move on to the second section of it. And then we're going to start putting in the lemons. Okay, so we're ready for the second part of the straw, and this is my pastel salmon 0009, and it's going to go in around the other part of the straw here, so it's going to be kind of multicolored. And then looks like we're ready to start on lemons next. We'll do, and I think some of the lemons are 2 pieces, so like 2 of the lemons have 2 appliques. They have a fabric layer and then the glitter layer. So that's what it looks like is coming up next. Okay, so we're ready to start the lemon. So this is step 7 and 8. So this is going to be the stitch the lemon 1 and 3 placement lines. And 1 and 3 are the 3 by 3 piece, and that's 1, and the 3.5 by 3.5 piece of fabric with the 2 pieces of shape flex on the back. And then we're going to lay these down and do the tack downs, and then we're going to trim them. And these are the ones that are going to have, I think, a piece of the glitter vinyl. Whoops, here, just a second. We're going to run into my tapes, so get that tape out of the way. Okay. That's the only thing when there's things that are loose or taped down, you kind of have to watch what it might hit. Okay, so this is the bigger one, so this one must go down here. Okay, so this was 1, so I'll lay this one down here, and then this one's going to lay up here, and this is the fabric. And then the next step is going to be the lemon segments, which is the glitter. You check to make sure. I'm sure that's what it said. Lemon, yeah, the lemon segments are going to be the yellow glitter vinyl. And I think it says to use the same color, but I might go a little darker with those because my yellow here is a little lighter than the yellow here. So I might go with a little bit darker yellow for this one. So we'll try putting this, because my yellow was very pale. All right, so let's try this other yellow. This is called Daffodil. And I think it actually says to use this one, but I thought it might be too light. So let's do this little bit darker one for these. And it says not to iron the glitter, so we're not going to be pressing it down like we usually do when we use glitter vinyl. So we're going to do the placement line first with that little bit. So so stitch the segments right, and then we're going to place the pieces right side up. So here's our segments. And then these are going to go in the middle. I think it does both of them, yes. Oh, I forgot to trim. We'll trim it when we get done with the placement lines, it's fine. Got to trim my fabric. Too worried about the glitter vinyl. All right, so let's trim these first before we go any further. Okay, so we can get these trimmed. We were supposed to have trimmed around these. This is a little thick to trim because of the 2 pieces of shape flex on there, but it was very pale, and it did say to put 2 pieces on because the yellow is pretty light colored. Okay, so let's get this out of the way, and then we'll trim this one. Bring this down a little bit so I can reach it. These long hoops are hard to trim in, aren't they? Or I have to grow longer arms, one or the other. All right, get this there, and then okay. So then we got our placement lines already here for our glitter, and I'm gonna I gotta cut my glitter in half here. I forgot to do that, so we'll just trim it in half here so we can lay one on each end. Okay, so here's the glitter here, and whoop, come back here, and the glitter here. And it said to right side up is shown, stitch the lemon segments, tack down lines, trim the glitter close to the stitch lines. Do not iron the glitter. Okay, so we're going to do our tack down. With the glitter, and then we're going to trim. Boy, is that matchy. I'm glad I got my glasses on. Okay, I'll make sure this one doesn't move around. Okay, so then this is on the bottom of page 15, so we're going to turn it to page 16 now. So we're going to trim it first. It says trim it, right? Trim the glitter close to the stitch lines. Okay, so let's trim this first. So we're going to trim this. Good thing I got my glasses on because boy is it matchy. I'm going to trim these close. That's a pretty yellow, isn't it? I like that. Okay. That. And then we get this one where we're going to have beautiful lemons on this lemonade. Okay. Go. I wonder if I have any yellow glitter vinyl. I need some. I give part of my kit to my friend Judy, who's doing these too, and I don't know if I have any yellow glitter vinyl. I may have to try to find some more. because there was really only enough for one on this one. Okay, so then it says, well, on the top of page 16, it says place 2 wash away topping pieces over the lemon segments glitter pieces, tape in place. Then we're going to stitch the lemon membrane fills. Okay, so they want you to put a piece of water soluble over the tops of these. And you're going to have to give me a moment because I didn't realize I needed it. So I need to go get some out of my drawer, and then I'll put it on, and then I'll come back and we'll start the centers of our lemons. Okay, so I've got my water soluble taped over. I did do bigger pieces than they called for because then it would make it a little bit bigger. Let me raise my foot here. And I taped it down because this stuff just slides all over the place. So I did tape it down on all 4 sides. All right, so then the next step is going to be the little slice, membranes inside, and that is going to be white. So I'm just going to I'm put my white thread in, and we're going to stitch that. And then we're going to go back to stitch the lemon one satin outline and lemon peel the details. So then we're going to be going into the outside edges here. So we'll get our part of our lemons done, and then we'll work on the outside parts. Okay, so I've got the little parts done, and without ironing that down, the glitter vinyl kind of pooks up in the middle because of all the stitches. And so that was the method here to make it a little more dimensional. I did have a little problem with mine, so be very careful when you're removing it. Since we didn't iron it down, see how I pulled some of this out because there were so many stitches there. So I am just going to trim that down a little bit, and then I will actually iron it down later so that it stays in there. Okay, because I can take an iron and I can iron that down, but just be very careful when you're removing your water soluble that you don't take out your vinyl at the same time. This is that stuff is really stuck in there. So you could moisten it a little bit, I think. It comes out, but you just have to be real careful. So I'm just going to iron that down, and it'll be fine. Won't even see it. So I'm just taking the rest of the water soluble kind of out so you can see the pretty glitter vinyl. I really like that yellow. It's very pretty. But that's why they didn't have us iron it down, because then it kind of pooks up. So, but you got to be careful not to pull it out. I got to get a couple more out yet, but we'll get that done. Okay, so the next step is, but I wanted to show you my little boo-boo. So when I took that out, but see, if I trim that just a little bit, then I can take my iron and I can iron it down. It won't be quite as pooky there, but it will actually, then it will be adhered to the fabric and it'll stay in there. So it'll be fine. Okay. So then the next step is going to be the outlines then on my lighter colored yellow. So I'm going to put my lemon yellow back in, and we'll do the satin stitches on the outside of the lemons. Okay, get that done. And that'll be the next step. Oops. Didn't get it pushed all the way back. There we go. This hoop is very tight. I try not to take it out any more than I have to. So this is going to do the lemon rinds and the detail around the outside edge, and then it's going to do the satin stitches. Okay, so this one's going to have the satin stitches on later because there's a couple of other lemons we have to put on before we do the satin stitch on this. So the next step is going to be the placement line, and this is step number 13 on page 16. That's going to be for the lemonade that's inside the glass. Let me make sure I don't have any little threads here that are going to get stuck underneath something. We don't want that. All right. All right, so we're going to I'm going to leave my yellow in to do the lemonade, and I think the lemonade piece is this long skinny piece. Got a couple more lemons to do yet. Now I've got a little mark on my fabric, so I'm going to try to get that, so I'll cut it off. Hopefully, so that it won't show. Looks like it's long enough, so I can cut it off. I didn't notice it until I had it all done, and I thought, well, maybe I can get it cut. Oh yeah, we'll be fine. It'll cut off. So then we're going to lay this over, And then this next step is going to be the placement or the tack down line for this. And then it says trim close to the stitches. So this is going to be the lemonade inside the glass. There's two pieces of shape flex on the back of this too. So then we'll do the trimming. Yeah, I really like that little lofty stuff, but boy, you have to be careful with taking that water soluble out of there. Don't pull out your yellow glitter vinyl at the same time. So I'll be able to fix it. We'll get it looking nice. Okay, so we're going to do this. And if I don't heat it down, I'll just use some fabric glue and just glue it underneath and it'll be fine. All right, get this trimmed close to the stitches. Still got my yellow thread in there, my lemon yellow thread. Okay, so there's our lemonade. Okay, got our lemonade. And the next step is going to be stitch the lemonade decorative stitch. So there's going to be a little decorative stitch that's going to go around the edge of the lemonade. Just a second here, I got a kind of a little spot here that needs to be trimmed. Okay, so now we're going to do the decorative stitch that's going to go around the lemonade part. Okay, I'm going to leave my yellow in for that, and then we're going to go back to doing lemons again. Okay, so step number 16 on page 16 is the placement lines for my other lemons that are going to be over here. So we're going to do lemon 2 and lemon 4. And I got one bigger one and one smaller one, so I think the smaller one's over here. And these also have two pieces of shape flex on the back because they're kind of light colored. Oh yeah, the big one needs to go over here. So we'll get those on. Got little threads all over the place though. Let's get that blue one out of there before we get it underneath that light yellow. Okay, so then we're going to put our yellow lemon fabric. Make sure we get it high enough here. Here. And then this one's going to go up here. Like that. Make sure I get it high enough. There we go. And then we're going to stitch these down. And then it says to trim close to the stitches. So we're going to do these and then trim. Okay, so I got my other two lemons on here and trimmed, and now the next step, which is going to be step number 18 on page 16, is the satin stitches over here on the lemon over here, and then we're going to do the glass satin stitch outline. Okay, so I'm ready to do I got my satin stitches over here, and we're ready to do the glass outline. Now they did the glass outline, even though it's blue, they did it in the lighter green. So I've got my lighter green, which is fresh green, and it's going to do the satin stitches around the blue part. And then we're going to put the vinyl on to make it look like a glass. Oops, second here, something's not sounding right. Better make a little adjustment. So give me a second while I check to see why my machine's sounding weird. Just needed a bobbin. I've got some new pre-wounds. I like them because they're class 15 size bobbins, so the bobbin sensor works better. But they have this weird little thing that sometimes the two ends are both visible at the same time, and then it freaks out the machine. So I had to stop it and pull that bobbin out. It was almost empty anyway. Put a new one in. So that's why it was sounding so strange. So we'll get our green outline on here, and then we're going to put the vinyl on the glass. Okay, so now we're ready. We got the green on here, and now we're ready to put this vinyl on. So make sure that there's nothing in here that you don't want in here, like little jump clips. There was a little jump clip up here on the straw, and make sure there's nothing, you know, there's no lint or something, piece of cat hair in my case usually, inside there, because we're going to put this vinyl on top and then we won't be able to get in there. So, and my vinyl had a little spot on it, so I'm going to make sure that that doesn't get, so I'm going to lay that over that. And then what it's going to do is it's going to do number 19, oh, I'm sorry, number 20, stitch the glass outside tack down line. So I've got my vinyl on there, and we're going to leave the green in and do the tack down line, and then we're going to do a second line before we trim. So it's going to do the green first, and then I think it's going to go back to yellow to tack this down, and then we'll trim it. And I think we're not going to trim the top because we have to put something in the top yet. So it's going to do that, and then it says stitch the glass outside tack down 2, and then you trim the vinyl, but don't trim the top. Okay. And then we have to do one more tack down with the yellow. I think it's the yellow. Yeah. So we're going to put the yellow in, and there's a second tack down line before we trim. But it says not to trim the top this time because we still have to put something in the top, and then we will, oops, I lost my white thread. It's here somewhere. All right, so it's just the yellow right there, evidently. Okay, so then it says trim the vinyl as desired along the left, right, and bottom edges only. Do not trim the top edge at this time. So then we're just going to trim this. We're going to trim along, down along here, up the side, but we're not going to trim the top, so I'm just going to leave the top like that. So let's trim this. We'll trim this along the bottom here. So I'm just trimming kind of along the line at the bottom there. And then this I'm going to kind of trim right along my satin stitches. I'm going to tip my scissors up and just kind of trim right along my satin stitches, the edge of my satin stitches. And then we'll go up to the top, but we're not going to trim off this top part. And I'll do this part too. And I'm going to do the same thing. I think I'll try to turn it this way, just so that I can get in here a little bit better. Sorry. Then I can see what I'm doing with my satin stitches. I'm trying to keep it even on both sides. Okay. So then we're just going to trim down. I'm kind of turning my scissors in so that it keeps it pretty straight. And then down to the bottom. Okay. Got a little tail sticking out there. There, that looks good. And then we're going to leave the top open for a little bit until we get ready to put the little beads in. I think the beads are supposed to look like little lemon seeds, I think. All right, so we're going to put this back in. And let's see, do I have to have a different color? The next step is going to be stitch the lemon 4. Oh, so this is going to still be my yellow. The lemon 4 outline. So we're going to do the lemon 4 and the lemon 3 outline, satin outline. So I'm going to do both of those because it's both in the same color. So that's step number 22 and 23. Okay, so step number 24 is going to be some detail in the lemons, and that is in the white. And then we're going to move on and do some leaves and put the leaves in. So this will be the detail in the lemons, and then we'll move on to leaves. Okay, so I'm putting my moss green back in because my leaves are darker, And this is going to be the placement line for my little leaf appliques. So I've got my little fabrics here. I think it's going to do both of them. Got a little tail sticking up here we'll take out of here. And then we'll put the fabric down and tack them down. Let's see here, it says, yeah, right side up, and then stitch the tack downs and then trim close. Okay, so we'll do these. Put these two pieces down here, one on each side, and then we're going to leave that same color in and do our tack down lines. And then we're going to trim the leaves. And then I think it's going to go ahead and do, yeah, the decorative outlines on them. They must have decorative outlines. Looks like motif stitches. So I'll get them trimmed and then we'll start the decorative stitching. And then I think there's some chevrons in this one too, but these are going to be in the green. All right, so I'm going to trim these. I'm going to get these trimmed and then I'm going to do the decorative outlines on them. Okay, so I just got these trimmed and I'm starting step number 27. That's going to be the decorative outlines, and I think there's a couple little stems. And then 28 is the chevrons, and it's in the same color. So I'll just go ahead and do those as well. And then we're going to be moving on to where we're going to put the little beads into the vinyl pretty soon. Okay, so I need to go back to the white, and there's going to be a little bit more detail in the, and this is step number 29 on page 16. And this is going to be a little bit more detail in the lemon, and then we're going to be putting the beads in. So the next step will be the beads. So we'll get this going, and then I'll come back and show you how to put the beads in. Must be some little detail on the ends here. Okay, so we're going to put the little beads in that make it look like little seeds, I suppose like little lemon seeds. Let's get our little white beads here. And it says to carefully insert the glass accent seed beads into the opening at the top of the glass outside vinyl. Be sure all seed beads are at least a ½ inch below the glass satin outline. So we're just going to get our little beads out here. We turn this around so I can get into this little hole here. We're just going to be very careful. See if I can turn the whole hoop over so you can see it. I'd like you to see this. So a second. I get the package open. Hopefully we won't have beads all over the place. I've learned with working with paper stuff that you get rid of the sticky thing because everything sticks to the sticky thing on the top of the package. So we'll get rid of that. And then see if we can get these into the top of this glass. So I think what I'm going to do is get this book out of my way. Let's see if we can bring this back a little bit. And I think I'm going to tip this down and see if I can kind of pour them in. So I'm just going to, hopefully you can see, let me probably pull this down a little bit. I'm just going to see if I can just kind of pour them in there so that they come out. Like I said, I took that sticky thing off so that they wouldn't stick. There we go, we're getting them out. So there's about 20 of them or so. Just little seed beads. Okay, come on out of there. They don't want to come out though. Oh, there's one more left. Come on. Doesn't want to come out of the package. There we go. Okay, so then it says to make sure they're about a ½ inch below the opening. There we go. And we can move them around a little bit, but I'm just we want to make sure they're down below where we're going to be stitching right here. Okay, so I just kind of poured them in. And I've got my light green back in, and then we're going to sew across the top of this to hold all those beads in there. This one just wanted to, there we go. Okay, so now we're going to sew across here to sew the beads in. So this is step number, Let's see what step it is. This is step number 30. And then it says to trim the vinyl along the top edge. So we're sewing it shut. And then we're going to trim the vinyl away at the top. Okay. Move my camera a little closer again for you. And then we're just going to trim along here. Just be careful of your lemons. This is a little tough to trim in here. There we go. All right. So there's the top of the glass. And then the last step, there's actually 2 steps left, but I think one of them you don't stitch. Yeah, so the 32 you do not stitch. But we're going to stitch the chevrons, and they're going to be that pinkish color, which is my pastel salmon 0009. So that's the last step we're going to stitch. So I'll put this back in. And I think I'm going to need to move my tape so that the chevrons won't get caught on the tape here. All right, so let's get the pink in, and we'll do the last portion of this block. This one had a lot going on in it. This one's kind of cool. All right, so I'm going to get the pink in, and it's going to do some more little chevrons. And get my flipper down. There we go. So it's going to do the chevrons, and then I'll come back and we'll do our trimming on this block. Okay, so it's all done. We got all the little chevrons on here, and then step number 32 says do not stitch this step. This line is for design placement only. And so now we're going to remove this from the hoop, and we're going to get ready to do the trimming. Now the trimming on this one's going to be more specialized because it has several sides. It's kind of a long skinny block, so we'll have to do this a special way. So give me just a moment and I'll switch everything over so that we can do the trimming on this final block. Okay, so we're ready to trim this last block, and this one is kind of an unusual size. It's 6.5 by 12.5. So you need the 6.5 by 8.5 inch orange pop ruler, the rectangle one, and then you need the 8.5 by 10.5. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them together like this. And then we're going to line them up because the outsides of the 10.5 inch one are 12.5 inches long. So what we're going to do is line these up, and I'm using my basting stitches along the outside edge to help me get this lined up. And then we're going to use these basting stitches in here to help us get it centered side to side. So we're just going to get that. It looks pretty good. And then we're going to cut in here with the small ruler in first, and we're going to go into, whoops, second here, I got to get my blade open. There we go. So I'm going to go in here, pull back to the corner, and go up, but do not cut the ends. We're just going to do the 2 sides right now. So I'm going to flip this around and do this side. Okay, and then I don't think it moved. No, I think we'll be okay. It might have moved just a little bit, but I think we're okay. All right, so then we're going to do the 2 ends. So we're going to flip this around, and I'm going to do the ends like this. I don't know if you can see me very well. Let me see. I'm trying to hang on to it. Okay, so it's kind of long. I apologize. So we're going to do the 2 ends here, because that's 12.5 inches on the outside of the biggest ruler. So I'm just going to flip this around like this and trim that. Okay, so that is the 12.5 inch. So let's take these out then, and then we just need to connect the dots. So we're gonna go in here and connect these pieces here on the ends. So give me a second here. Take the ruler, and we're just going to go out to the outside. This one's just a little bit off, so I'll check the square here. Yeah, I had one corner that's just a little off, so we'll fix it. So I'm going to go over here and just connect those lines in the middle there. And this end was just a little off, so I'll just get it straightened out. And we'll do this end here. Just line up my lines. So this was a different type of trimming. So we've had to do several other blocks that were odd shapes. So you can do a combination of all of the different rulers to get all these different sizes. So you don't have to just be limited to just a few sizes. All right, so let's get these. Get this one lined up. Connect the dots there. And then we'll go down here and do this side. And then we're done. Looks like I missed a little spot right there, so I'll have to get it. There's a little spot right there. I'm glad we did this block by itself. This one had a lot of stitching in it. Had lots of satin stitches, lots of little stuff in it. So, oh my gosh, isn't that cute? So this is like the whole left-hand side of the little mini quilt. So if I can kind of get this straightened out, you might be able to see. So this is the whole left-hand side of the mini quilt. And then these 3 blocks, oh, here they are. I just covered them all up. These 3 blocks are the right-hand side, like this. So there's our little mini quilt. We got all of the blocks done. I'm very excited to put this together. It's going to be so cute with the red. I think I've got red binding, and I think that'll look really cute around the outside edge. So there's our 4 blocks for our June mini quilt. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. And then if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do, because then you get notified when I have new videos up that I put up. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you for part 4, which will be the assembly of our little mini quilt. Thanks, everybody.